Today I'll be making a custom folding kitchen stool. It has to be 28 inches tall and it needs to fold as flat as possible. This is the lumber I have to work with. This 1x pine is a little questionable. Just like most of the projects I do, I've got an idea in my mind of what I want, but I don't have any actual plans. So I'll be designing on the fly, trying things and just seeing how they work out. By setting my legs 12 inches apart at the bottom and 10 inches apart at the top, I was able to come up with an angle that they need to be cut. It looks like about 1 degree. So my plan is to go ahead and get the angle cut on the legs and put the bracing in between them. And I'm still working out how I'm going to get this thing to fold. I got an idea of how I want it to fold, but I need to be able to latch it together when it's unfolded so it'll be sturdy. I don't want it wobbling. That's what I'm struggling with. I think folding and unfolding will be simple enough, but getting it not to be wobbly when it's unfolded and in use is going to be a little bit of a challenge. I'm trying to get away without having a bunch of latches and things that have to be fastened and unfastened. I want it to be quick and easy to just fold it up and unfold it. But I don't know, I'm still going to have to give that some more thought. But I think once I get the leg assemblies together, that'll get me a little way toward trying to figure out how to latch it. I don't know, we'll see. I got my saw set up to make 2 of the foot cuts. I'll have to swing it to the other side to make the other 2 foot cuts. This saw is not a double bevel, but it does have a little bit of play, so since I only needed to go 1 degree, I was able to get it to swing to the right when normally it swings left. I laid out 1 pair of legs, spaced them properly top and bottom to figure out the location of my braces and to mark for where the tenons are going to be cut. I'm getting 1 brace out of each, or 2 braces out of each board. Got my table tilted to match the angle of the foot cut, and I got a 3/4 inch Forstner bit tucked up. So I'm going to drill the mortises. I got the center point marked on my board, and I've got the size of the mortise marked. I'm using the edge of the Forstner bit as a guide and putting the point right on the center line. I'm going to go ahead and slide over and mark my other spot too. Alright, that looks good. Go ahead and drill the first one. Alright, that is going to work. I lost all the video I shot yesterday. I was blaming it on an SD card, but now I'm thinking it may be a bad USB port. Did some testing, and that's kind of the direction I'm leaning right now. Oh, you didn't miss a whole lot. Mainly chiseling out the mortises and cutting the tenons on the table saw with a dado blade. I glued up some boards for a seat, but that's not going to work. It's a little too twisted, and I could flatten it on the RAS, but I'm going to need something thicker to work with, so I'm getting ready to mill these 2x4s flat, and then I'm going to glue them up and make the seat out of them. Set up to cut a 3/4 inch wide by 1/2 inch deep dado in these pieces. I've got my stop block set up because I don't want to cut all the way into the hole. The dowel will be going through this hole. Piece will be pivoting on the dowel, so I want to stop short. I believe I finally hit on the locking mechanism that's going to work with the stool. Getting ready to run some inserts, threaded inserts, into this piece so I can lock it together with that one. Yeah, I'll have to cut a slot here because this piece is going to drop down with that bolt for a stop. This part of the locking mechanism seems like it's going to work. I'm going to put some thread locker on this T-bolt to keep it from moving, and I'm going to leave it just a little bit out so there won't be any trouble getting this board to lock into it. I had to put this slot in so when the stool is folded, this bolt has a place to go. It was hitting and keeping the stool from coming together all the way. got to have a slot in this piece for my locking knob to be able to slide through. The locking knob is, the shaft is 1/4 inch. I drilled 17/64 holes in here on my start point and stop point. And I've got a 1/4 inch spiral carbide bit loaded. I'm going to make this in 3 shallow passes to give me a clean cut. I've got the fence set where the bit is hitting on the outside or the fence side of the hole, and I'll probably come back after I get the slot cut, move the fence back just a tiny bit to widen the slot enough so the knob won't bind. Basically, I want the slot to be 17/64, just like the holes. I just don't have a 17/64 carbide bit, so anyway, I've got stop blocks set up for my start and stop points, and I think I'm ready to go. I have to have spacers to hold my locking pieces in roughly the position that you see here. Need them on this back side too. On the top, I'm just going to put one block on each side to keep this from moving, but they have to stay in about the position they're in now in order for the mechanism to be able to work freely. If they're twisting and sliding, it's not going to work. These pieces are hinges that will attach the seat to the stool and allow it to fold back and lie flat against the back legs. I've got this leg clamped in place. I'm getting ready to cut a slot. Each hinge will slide down into the slot, and there'll be a matching slot in the seat. This is the second time that I have cut these slots. I got confused first time around and cut the slots going in the wrong direction. They were going to have the seat folding back on the side that needed to come in and collapse, which obviously wouldn't work. So I just cut some filler pieces and glued in there, and I'm going to try to get this thing all together and see if it'll actually work. I nibbled away most of the leftover bits on the bandsaw, so I'll just have a little bit to clean up with the chisel. Well, there's the dry fit. The seat will have to be notched for the hinges to fit in there, and I won't be using this threaded rod like I had intended because I just don't have any way to drill a hole all the way through the seat, so I'm going to go with bolts instead, one on each side. This is a test piece so I could determine just how the seat was going to work. So when it's folded, it should go around and hit flat on the back of the legs. I'm set up to notch out the seat where the hinges will go. I could cut these notches on the bandsaw, but it wouldn't be quite as clean, and I could cut them on the table saw, but I'd have to stand the seat up and figure out some way to clamp it in place while I'm cutting it. So I decided the RAS was the simplest way to do it. This will be basically the same way I cut the slots for the hinges and the legs. I'll have to cut it from both sides and then nibble away the part that's left on the bandsaw and then chisel it to get it cleaned up. Got the hinges fitting the notches of the seat. I used the hinges as a template to mark the hole to drill on the seat. Probably would have been smarter to make the hinges without the hole and drill it all at one time, but I had to drill at least one hinge to test to see exactly where to put the hole so the seat would fold back flat. Got a feeling I'm going to have to round off this corner. I'm guessing that the seat will drag on it as I try to raise it. Well, it turns out I do have a 3/8 drill bit that's long enough to drill all the way through the seat. So hopefully I can use my threaded rod like I had intended. I set up my mortising table to do horizontal boring. I did a test on a piece of this stock that I had cut off, and it came out good. So what I'm going to do is bore a pilot hole as deep as I can from this side. Then I'm going to swing the head and bore a hole from the other side, and then try to connect those with this bit. Alright, there's one side. I wanted to use this setup to drill the hole because I didn't figure there was any way I could keep it straight enough with a hand drill. So I'm going to move everything over to the left side and try it again. Well, this is an old bit, but it's freshly sharpened, and I'm hoping it's going to do the job with the old pro. I'm going to feed it down through my pilot hole before I start drilling. I don't want to mess that up. Put a slight round over on the front of my hinges, and it's allowing the lid to fold back. Didn't take much, just enough to get it to clear the corner. I'm using my drill bit as a temporary hinge pin because the threaded rod I've got is very tight. Now my challenge is to put dowels in the front legs so the seat can drop down onto it, and that should keep the stool steady, keep the back leg from collapsing, because the way it is right now with nothing holding it, this side's stable, this side's not. My Forstner bit was not drilling into the end grain, so I've switched to a twist drill bit. I was going to use a 3/4 inch dowel in here, but I don't have a 3/4 inch twist drill. This is a 5/8, so I do have a 5/8 dowel, and that should do the job. I've got my table marked with a piece of tape where I need to stop, so I can go about 1 inch deep. Let me fire this thing up and see if this does any better. Yeah, getting smoky. Wanted to drill a hole and not build a fire. Alright, let me get this out of the clamps and see how it looks. Well, it looks alright, not too burned. That was more difficult drilling than I expected it to be, but it worked. So got to do one in the other side and then drill a couple matching holes in the seat, and we'll see how these things line up. I've got one of the seat pins fitting in the hole, and I'm still working on tapering this one. Grinding the dowel away with sandpaper. Just twisting, twisting, and twisting. And checking it and twisting some more. Well, I finally got this stool ready to glue up. I have to do this all in one go. I can't glue it in stages because it's never going to fit if I do. So this should be interesting. Imagine the camera will time out before I get this thing done, and I may not have time to go restart it. Oh, somebody wash out the brush. little bit's red and eye poking height. About 7/8. Beautiful. The stool survived the glue up mostly unscathed. Had a little bit of squeeze out by the hinges. The seat was slightly glued to the leg, but it's not too bad. But right now I have to take this thing apart because I've got to put screws in my little spacer blocks to keep them from rotating. And the easiest way to do that is going to be to separate it so I can lay it down flat and use my drill. These screws are long enough they're running into the dowel. I've got to drive this rod through. It's a little too tight just to push it through. I've already had it all the way through once. I don't know if I showed that on the video or not. The seat pin holes need a bevel around them. This one was binding on the pin a little bit and actually cracked out a little bit of the wood. I'm going to have to probably peel it out and glue it back in. But I'm going to use this round grinding stone to bevel the edges to hopefully keep that from happening again. Yeah, that looks much better. Hopefully the pins won't bind up anymore. A lot of things to figure out when building something for the first time. It doesn't look like it's all that complicated, but it was way more complicated than I expected it to be. I probably won't include in the video all the failed attempts and extra pieces that I had to make. I've been working on this thing for almost 4 weeks, just trying to figure out everything to get it to fold up like it's supposed to and make everything clear and still be stable enough, sturdy enough to sit on, which it is. I'll show you that in just a second. I had hoped to do this with only one locking knob, but obviously that didn't work out. So yeah, I think I'm down to, gotta put a little Loctite on these T-bolts. I'm gonna put some Loctite on the acorn nuts. I'm gonna repair this one little spot on the bottom of the seat and put a finish on it. I think that'll probably be about it. I think I am going to bevel the bottom of the feet so they don't get cracked out moving it on the floor. I don't want little chunks tearing out. Right now they're just sharp edges. Stool is plenty sturdy. It's not going to be completely steel since it folds, but it doesn't have a whole lot of play in it. I think if I had it to do over again, I might make the bottom a little bit wider so I can get both feet on one support, but it's not too bad. And rest a foot on the locking portion over here. I don't know how I'd feel being barefoot, but yeah, so it works. So there it is.